About 47 weeks of the year, I travel to a different parish throughout the country, to people like yourselves, to remind you as well as myself about our brothers and sisters living in utter poverty. And then maybe 5, 6, 7 weekends of the year, I visit those people. And when I do, I'm really amazed. Here are people of absolutely nothing, live in extreme poverty, and yet are happy, loving, giving, faithful in God. They welcome we strangers. They give gifts to us. They give all kinds of things to one another. I remember a few years ago I was in Haiti blessing a house. And after I blessed the house, this lady said to me, "Father, I want you to come with me to meet the people who made this house possible." They were supposed to receive the home that we did. But when Food for the Poor was about ready to build the home for this family, they said, "No, our neighbor needs it more, so please, please build it for them and put us on the list where they are." Imagine that. People with nothing. And yet they gave up a house so that their neighbor, who they thought needed it more, could have a house. And when we went to visit this other home, it wasn't a home, it was unbelievable what they lived in. But that is the kind of people that live in these countries. That's the kind of people that we serve. That's the kind of people that I visit when I go on mission trips, that you hopefully support, give life to. But when I visit them, I'm also amazed and just disgusted. Here are people living in utter poverty, and they live 2 hours by plane from the richest country in the world. And it just truly is disgusting. They have absolutely nothing. While we in the United States have everything we want. As soon as you get out of the airport into the streets in a place like Haiti, Nicaragua, El Salvador, third world countries in the Caribbean, Latin America, throughout the world, you see people in the streets begging for money, begging for food, begging for life. And you quickly discover that these people not only beg in the streets, this is for many of them their home. This is where they have family life, go to sleep at night, wake up in the morning. If they have food that day, this is where they cook it and eat it. Those who are fortunate enough to have a house usually have a one-room shack about half the size of a one-car garage. They have no electricity or running water. To bathe, they have to go down to a stream that the whole neighborhood uses to bathe themselves. The neighborhood also uses these streams to wash their clothes. Animals wash themselves, relieve themselves in these streams. So, as you can imagine, they're not very clean. They're dirty, polluted, disease-ridden. But sadly, these people also use these streams for drinking water. And then usually during our trips, they'll go to a garbage dump. And as you drive to these garbage dumps, you see all kinds of animals and rodents, hundreds and hundreds of vultures swooping down, grabbing something, and then flying off. And these animals are eating away at piles of garbage, and right next to the animals going to the garbage, looking for something to eat, are human beings. And every time a new truck comes to dump garbage, these people will leave the pile they're going through and run after the truck. So when the truck does stop to dump its garbage, they can be right there first in line, so they can get the new garbage, the good garbage. Something they can take home to their families to feed them, something they can take to the market to sell, so they can feed and clothe themselves, feed and clothe their families. These things are really happening in our world, happening to sons and daughters of our God in heaven, therefore happening to our sisters and brothers. Human beings starving to death, brothers and sisters having to go through garbage day after day after day in order to eat, in order to live and survive. And every time I see these things, the words of Jesus keep echoing in my mind. Whatever you do to the least of your sisters and brothers, you do to me. And that's why I'm here this evening. That's why for the last 20 years or so, I've been traveling throughout the United States to different parishes every weekend to people like yourselves to remind you as well as myself about our starving brothers and sisters, to beg you to reach out to them, to feed them, to clothe them, to love them. Because if we don't, no one will. If we don't feed them, they very well may die. Food for Lord was founded 37 years ago, and during this time we've given life to countless numbers of people. We've had billions. And still, every day of the week throughout the world, tens of thousands of people go to bed hungry. Every day of the week, thousands and thousands of people in the world die of hunger. And the crime of our world is enough money, there's enough resources, there's enough food in this world, so that no man, woman, or child ever has to go to bed hungry, let alone die of hunger. And yet every day, thousands and thousands of people, 2/3 of which are children, do die of starvation. What a sin. At the ends of the pews, there's a brochure. With those in the ends, please pass them out. Somebody has one. There's plenty for young and old. Now, sometimes the people in the ends don't do their job, so if you need one, just raise your hand and I'll get one to you. Anybody need one? Just spend a moment and look at this picture of this little girl on the front cover. Maybe flip the brochure, look at some of the other pictures, and ask yourself, what do I see? Who do I see? And hopefully as you look deep in the eyes of the people in this brochure, you will recognize in them Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Messiah. Because surely as soon Jesus will be in your hand or on your tongue at communion, Jesus is present in these people and the millions of people they represent throughout our world. If you open up your brochure, in the center of the very bottom there's an envelope. And if you haven't already guessed, that's why I'm here this evening. In a moment, we're going to ask as you fill this envelope with a gift. It's a fairly large envelope, so hopefully it'll be a fairly large gift. But before I should have filled up, I'm going to ask that you fill it out. Now, you might say to yourself, does he think I'm dumb? If I put my name and address on that envelope, I'm going to be in every mailing list in the country. Well, I promise you, you won't be. We don't give this information away. We don't sell it. We keep it to ourselves. But it's important for us to have it so we could write it and say, thank you. Thank you in the name of the people that you give life to through your gift. Now, we're going to send you mail, but we truly don't expect you to give every time we send out a mailing. The average person who receives a mail gives 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a year. But if you don't send out mail, nothing comes back, and that means the poor continue to suffer. And we can't exist without you. You are crucial to our work and ministry, to the work and ministry of Jesus. So please put your name, your address, your telephone number in the envelope. There's some pencils in the pews. But if you need a pen or pencil, just let me know, raise your hand, and I'll be happy to get one to you. Now, while you're filling that out, you might say to yourself, well, that's all well and good. But with so much poverty in this world, what little I can give is really not going to do much good. Let me tell you what your monies will do in a third world country. Your loving gift of $3,600 will build a house for a family that lives in the streets, lives in the shack, lives in a garbage dump. We used to build one-bedroom homes. But we found out that that's not really adequate for a family. And so we began building only 2-bedroom homes. We also know that $7,200 is kind of out of the reach of most people. And so what we've been doing in the last few years is having you donate $3,600, we hope, and another donor, out of the goodness of their heart, matching that $7,200, $3,600. So we can build a home, 2 bedrooms, kitchen area, living room, family room type thing, solar paneling, sanitary facilities, some fruit trees, some furnishings, so that a family can move into a house that they can live in with dignity, comfortably. We have plaques we give to people who build that house with a picture of the family. And it's been demonstrated over and over again, not only by Food for the Poor, but by other international charities, that the greatest gift that we in a first world country can give to a family in a third world country is the gift of a home, because it pulls them out of poverty and most times keeps them out of poverty. What a way to memorialize a loved one, to build a house that becomes a home for a homeless family. I'll be happy to talk to anyone who is even thinking about building a house. You can build one all at once or a series of payments. $50 will provide 500 meals. Think about that. 500 meals for a child, for a family. Like the little guy I met in Jamaica, we were giving food to these children. The priest next to me had this young boy in front of him, probably 11, 12 years old. And when Father tried to hand this boy a plate of food, he wouldn't take it and start crying. And so Father asked him, "What's wrong? Aren't you hungry?" And the boy said, "Yes, I am." So Father, "Here, take this food." The boy said, "I can't." And when Father asked him why not, the boy's response was, "Because it's not my day to eat." That's not unusual in our world. Very often, families assign a day of the week in which each of the members of the family have to eat. And if it's your day and there's food, you're indeed very, very lucky. But can you imagine the pain of a parent who has to tell their child, "You can't eat today, your day is Thursday, your day is Saturday"? Or the pain of a child who has to sit there watching a sibling eat with a gnawing stomach, praying that when my day comes, there's going to be food. Your loving, compassionate gift of $50, $60, $70 will feed a child 500, 600, 700 meals. I think it's about $73.50 will feed a child 2 meals a day for a whole year. What do you spend? You go to Burger King, McDonald's. What do you spend? You go out to dinner. The average couple in our country spends over $50 when they go out to a restaurant. That $50 will provide 500 meals. Now, I'm not telling you shouldn't do those things. I'm just trying to put things in perspective. $285 will provide a village with a water pump. Well, now the young girls of that village have to get up at 4:30 in the morning when it's still dark out and walk dangerous roads down to a dirty stream and then back to the village with heavy buckets of not so clean water on their heads. Your gift of $285 will supply a village with a water pump. So the girls can then become children again, play like other girls, go to school like other girls. So as they grow and mature, they can become productive members of the community. The bottom line is that for relatively small amounts of money, you can work great miracles. And so I ask you to look deep in your hearts and your souls and make a gift. Your gift can be cash, it can be a check. There's even a place if you like to use your credit card. Over 95% of everything that is given to Food for the Poor goes to programs for the poor. We're the most cost-effective charity in the United States. There is not going to be a special collection. This is all there is. And you can just leave it here and go home and forget about it. I pray that you don't do that. You can take it home with you and talk it over your family. If it's often, you get in the car, put it in the glove compartment. A few days from now, you find, "Oh, there's that envelope I really meant to give." Well, it's too late now. I'll do it next year. It's never too late because it's a self-addressed stamped envelope, and you can always mail it in. But to make things easy for you so you don't forget or procrastinate, so you save us postage. After Mass, I'll be right through those doors there. I'm going to lock all the other doors, so you have to go out that way. I'll be back there after Mass. If you like, you can give me your envelope. And I'll bring it to Food for the Poor myself on Tuesday. Actually put it in the collection, give it to one of the ushers. As long as it's in this envelope, I'll get it after Mass and bring it the food for the poor. And so again, I ask you to make a gift. Make a gift to feed people like this little guy I met in El Salvador not too long ago. When I first met Lester, he was 2.5 years old. He was at one of our clinics in El Salvador. But he was brought there when he was 1 year and 2 months old. And this is what he looked like. He weighed 9 pounds. His grandfather brought him to 3 hospitals in Guatemala City. The first 2 hospitals said there's absolutely nothing we could do for him. He's going to die, so take him home. Third hospital said he's going to die, but you can leave him here so he can die in comfort. Thank God the grandfather didn't listen to that. And he brought Lester to Sister Christina, the head of the center there, and 6 months later, this is what Lester looked like. A little food, a lot of love, and life is renewed. And etched in my mind and heart forever is the image of this infant I held in my arms at one of our clinics in Haiti. He was 4 or 5 weeks old. A man was walking down the streets of Port-au-Prince, heard the screaming, went over to see what was going on. This infant was on a heap of trash. A pig was eating away at his foot. This man chased the pig away, grabbed this infant, ran him to our clinic. Sadly, the doctors had to amputate the foot, but saved baby Moses' life. Moses, too, is alive and healthy and happy, has a family because of you, because of your sacrifices, your generosity, your great love. But for every Moses, every Lester, the thousands and thousands of other children who today, tomorrow, next week, next month, are going to die of starvation, die of some disease a small pill can cure unless you and I reach out to them. 2 years ago, I held Moses in my arms again, tall, educated, with a family. Because one of the nurses and her family, poor themselves, adopted baby Moses. I thank those of you for years have been reaching out, giving life to the poor of this world. It's because of you that so many miracles have happened. And I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. As do the people that I visit when I go on mission trips. They're constantly saying to me, Father, please, please thank the people. Thank the people for giving us life. Thank the people for giving us food, for giving us homes. But you know what they thank you most for? For jobs. They want to work because that gives them dignity. That gives them the opportunity to feed and clothe themselves, feed and clothe their families. And that makes them feel great. So in their name, I thank you. You give them all kinds of jobs. Through you, we teach them how to go out in the ocean to fish. We teach them how to grow in ponds, tilapia and basso. We teach them how to have chicken farms so they can sell eggs and so many other things. And those of you who hear about us for the first time tonight, I invite you to get involved in our ministry because it's the very essence of the message of Jesus. Look at the Gospels. Remember, Jesus said to Peter, Peter, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, you know I love you. Then go out and feed my lambs, feed my sheep. The disciples went up to Jesus at the preaching on the Mount. 5,000 men. How many women and children do you think there were if there were 5,000 men? And the disciples said, Jesus, we got to send them away. There's no food for them. What did Jesus say? Feed them yourselves. And they did. And there was lots left over. I was in a little village in Haiti a couple years ago of 133 families living in huts made of twigs. whole other story, but at one point, a 9-year-old boy came up to me, 9 years old. And he planted his feet in the ground in front of me, and I could still see the dust flying up. And he stood this far from me, and he looked me square in the eye. And in very poor English, with a heavy Creole Haitian accent, said to me, "Father, what do you need?" I really lost it. Here was a kid who didn't know what he was going to eat again, who drank polluted water, who lived in a hut that when it rained, he couldn't sleep at night on the ground like he usually did, but had to stand up because the ground he slept on became a gooey, slimy mud. But he had the heart to say to me, "What do you need? How can I help you?" After I regained my composure, I looked him back in the eye and I said to him, "I need absolutely nothing, and I don't." And if most of us in this church are honest with ourselves, we can say the same thing. God has truly blessed us. We all have many, many wants, but very few, if any, needs at all. But that young boy retaught me an extremely important lesson. No matter if we're rich or poor, young or old, no matter if we have thousands and thousands of possessions or nothing at all, each and every one of us is called by God to look deeply in the eyes of the person next to us, in back of us, across the world from us, and say to them, "What do you need? How can I help you?" And yes, there very well be somebody in this church today who is poor, but I'm not speaking about people who are poor. I'm speaking about the Haitians who feed the children cookies. This is all in pieces. Want a cookie? No? Yes? You sure? No? What do you think that is? These cookies are clay, made of clay. Mixed with something like a little salt to give it flavor, baked in the sun. And the people of Haiti then feed these cookies to their children, because it fools their children to thinking that because their bellies are full, and they are with dirt, with clay, because their bellies are full, they're no longer hungry. These people aren't poor, they're desperate, destitute. They have no hope. So please, work a miracle today. Give life to a sister or brother, and in doing so, you give life to Jesus. And as Jesus himself tells us, when we give life to a sister or brother, we then give eternal life to ourselves. God bless you, and thank you very, very much. I'm going to leave these pictures. There's 3 or 4 different pictures of Lester here and the house and the clay cookies, if you'd like to look at it after Mass.